The last time this man spoke, hundreds of thousands picked up guns. Grand Ayatollah Sistani, Iraq's most powerful Shia cleric, now calling for collective jihad in defense of Iran. Not a suggestion, a religious duty. Hezbollah, Iraqi militias, the Houthis, all within reach of this ruling. God just entered the war, formally. A fatwa from Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani does not gather dust. When Iraq's most senior Shia cleric speaks, millions listen, and in 2014, hundreds of thousands of them picked up guns. 12 years later, as Israel and America bombard Iran and reportedly kill more than 1,000 people within a week's time, Sistani, the lead Shia cleric in Iraq, has issued a ruling declaring collective jihad in defense of Iran, calling on Muslims to fill the streets in solidarity with Tehran and framing that support as a binding religious duty. The fatwa warned against what it described as division conspiracies and called for broad public presence to preserve the Islamic system.
Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Sistani, one of the highest Shia religious authorities in Iraq, in response to a religious inquiry from one of his followers, emphasized the obligation of collective jihad to defend the Islamic Revolution of Iran.
The last time Sistani issued a comparable ruling, it changed the map. In June 2014, with ISIS overrunning northern Iraq and the army in retreat, his call for volunteers produced the popular mobilization forces almost overnight. A vast network of armed Shia factions that absorbed hundreds of thousands of fighters, reshaped Iraq's security structure, and never fully stood down. Many of those same factions answer to Tehran today. That is the machinery this fatwa now reaches. Hezbollah in Lebanon, armed Iraqi factions, the Houthis in Yemen, all operate within the religious and political constellation that Sistani's ruling addresses. A religious obligation to defend Iran does not stop at a protest banner. It travels down supply lines, into weapons depots, and onto launch pads. To understand how significant fatwas are in the Muslim world, perhaps the most direct example for the West would be the fatwa issued by Osama bin Laden in February 1998 under the banner of the World Islamic Front for jihad against the Jews and the Crusaders. This decree stated that killing Americans, both civilians and military, was an individual duty for every Muslim. This fatwa provided the religious legitimacy for the 1998 US embassy bombings and is linked by the 9/11 Commission to the attacks on September 11th. US bases in Iraq have been under fire since the war began on February 28th. The fatwa hands the groups behind those attacks something a military order cannot: divine sanction. It also makes it considerably harder for Baghdad's civilian government to rein them in. No Iraqi politician asks fighters to stand down when a fatwa tells them standing up is God's will. For Israel, the stakes are no less serious. Sistani's ruling effectively gives armed groups across the region a theological entry point into a war that, until now, they have joined selectively. History has a pattern here. Religious edicts in wartime do not merely reflect a conflict, they fuel it. Sistani has lit a fuse that stretches well beyond Iran's borders, and Washington and Tel Aviv are both standing in the blast radius. Iran has declared jihad on the United States and Israel after the two countries attacked the nation and killed its supreme leader Khamenei and other key officials. Two of Iran's most senior Shiite clerics have called on Muslims worldwide to avenge the killings and the destruction brought by the Western forces. Grand Ayatollah Nasser Makarem Shirazi, one of Iran's most senior clerics, and a Marja who helped draft the Islamic Republic's constitution, had issued a ruling of jihad against the United States and Israel via Tasnim, Iran's semi-official news agency, declaring that avenging Khamenei's killing was a religious duty for Muslims worldwide. The fatwas carry weight. They essentially legitimize any sort of attacks on America and Israel in the view of the majority of Shiite Muslims. The threats echoed in the political circles of Tehran too. Ali Larijani, Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, left little room for ambiguity. Speaking on state television on March the 1st, he warned Washington directly that the strikes had crossed a line that would not go unanswered.
Americans should know that by stabbing the hearts of the Iranian nation, their hearts will be stabbed, and therefore the behavior of our armed forces today will be much stronger than the day before.
Larijani also addressed the countries in the region whose bases the US had used to conduct the strikes, warning that Iran had no intention of attacking them, but that any territory used against Tehran would be treated as American territory and destroyed accordingly.
We had already said this to the countries in the region, and we had also told them that we have no intention of attacking you. But when your country's bases are used against us, and America is operating against us, we will destroy all its bases and facilities in the region. These bases are not their territory, they are American territory.
Meanwhile, Iran's president left even less room for interpretation either. In a statement carried by state television on March the 1st, Masoud Pezeshkian called Khamenei's killing an open declaration of war against Muslims worldwide, and said the Islamic Republic considered revenge not merely a right, but an obligation.
No fate other than martyrdom on the battlefield against the enemies of Islam was worthy of the name and stature of Grand Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The Islamic Republic of Iran regards seeking justice and revenge against the perpetrators and those who ordered this historic crime as its duty and legitimate right, and it will employ all its capabilities to fulfill this great responsibility and obligation. Once again, I extend my condolences to the Islamic Ummah, the noble nation of Iran, and all admirers and followers of this eternal leader.
That obligation was already being acted upon. Iran's Revolutionary Guards claim to have struck 27 US military bases across the region, though those reports had not been independently verified at the time of writing. Explosions were confirmed in Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Iraq. The strikes followed an earlier wave of Iranian missile attacks on Israel that killed at least one woman in Tel Aviv and injured over 100 others. The warnings had been on the record for months. Back on January 20th, Iran's National Security Parliamentary Commission told state media that any attack on the supreme leader would mean a declaration of war with the entire Islamic world. A senior military official went further, saying Iran would set the world on fire. Washington pressed ahead regardless. Now Tehran is making good on those words, and the coming days might be tough for special relationship.